reputation that continues to follow me around, apparently.
We can get you a picture of Dave Moore if you like, Alex.
Yeah, please do. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us. We are kindly joined by Andrew, Debbie, and Jason, who are here to answer the questions you've been throwing at us throughout the week. So thank you as well for everyone getting involved, and welcome along. Mike and Bruce are also here. Bruce has already showed off the calendar behind the scenes, which is great. Thank you all so much for joining. Jason has got as you can probably tell, is a bit under the weather. So if he sounds cranky with me, that's just natural. And
I also look like this normally, Alex. So it's just kid flu. So be all right.
Ben has also noticed that Andrew isn't on the side of the M1, which is great.
Just for change.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, first and foremost, it's been a busy couple of months, I guess. And, you know, as soon as one of the most important positions in the club is filled, you've then got another to fill as well. Debbie, congratulations on the new position. And we hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
First question is, when do we lose you? And then I guess, has the position already been, is the headhunting already going?
So my last game is February the 10th, Stockport at home. And yes, the recruitment process has already started. Jason might want to talk about that a bit more. But yes, it started.
Yeah, I'm happy to update on that. So we're using a company called Elite Performance Partners, EPP, a guy called David Sleeman, who we've got to know over the last couple of years. Really good guy, does like appointments across a number of sports, actually. So actually found us Gareth Jennings as well. He was the guy that went out into the market and did that search when we were looking for a non-exec. So actually, we've just got a couple of details on the spec that will probably go out next week, but to be honest with you, I know we'll be looking at it the week before Christmas. So the plan is to really go out in earnest in the beginning of the year. Slightly different to the managerial search. This feels like search in common, which is stuff Andrew and I have done throughout our careers, which is, you know, we've got the coverage, I think, because we've got people like Adam Smith in the business. You know, Andrew and I involved day to day still. So it's not like Debbie leaves if we haven't got someone, the sky falls in. We've got good people in the business already. So talking to a couple of people outside the process, with a number of applications as soon as Debbie's news went live. Just seeing the comment there. Andrew, yeah, we do get a transfer fee. Apparently it's a giant Toblerone and a packet of Walker's crisps. We had to negotiate the crisps, by the way, at a separate fee.
That's rude. That's so rude.
I was just going to mention, actually, that it's outside the transfer window as well. I don't know whether the EFL will actually need to investigate their own rules on that.
I didn't think of that. No, but sort of joking aside, look, the process will just run its course. We're going to make sure it's an important job. Deb's done an amazing job for us. I mean, she'll get embarrassed there, but in the last couple of years, absolutely instrumental. I joked in the first few months about it being our most important hire, and I stand by that. The cultural change, the transformation that's gone on is down to Debbie's hard work, and it was a heavy lift. I mean, it has been a heavy lift for everyone involved, and Debbie's been in it day to day. It's been easier for Andrew and I because we can disappear off and do other stuff, but Debbie's been in it day to day. So it'd be a hard replacement. But I also, you know, I've said this to Debbie, when people start in an organisation that Andrew and I are involved in, we hope that they go on to better things. You know, if we're doing something that gets the attention of one of the best community jobs in the country for the EFL, then we're doing something right as an organisation. And Deb's clearly been doing stuff right to get recognised and acknowledged. So this way, you know, we don't get to work together again, but delighted for genuinely. I'm thankful for the work that's gone on the last couple of years, but be a chance for us to get something a bit different in as well. So I always go straight to the positives. You know, we can it'll bring something different to us as well, which I think is good for the energy of a business to change every now and again. But no, the punchline is, you know, we'll miss her in business, but at the same time, she'll be around. She'll be at games. She's gonna be at every game still. She's in her blood now, even though she pretends she's a Derby fan. She's going to be through and through.
That's 2 blows, and it's only 7:10.
Well, you're leaving, so I can get on with it now, can't I?
I just endorse what Jason said, and you know, fully agree with all of the above. And I think on the basis that she's going to the EFL, then I think the transfer fee should be about 10 points. So hopefully you could deliver that, Deb, before you leave.
Can we have I just like the idea that there's a controversial game and the penalty doesn't go our way, and after 1 minute past 5, Debbie's phone is going, and it's one of you two. Oh, fuck's sake, what's gone on?
I've never thought, Alex, I've never thought of this though. There must be like once she gets a company login at the EFL, there must be someone that looks after the league tables and the points. I think Andrews could be onto something. She could get a company login and just like add a few in now and again. Just one now and again, so people don't notice. Stuff like that. So it's up to you anyway. Now you're a town fan. You have to do it.
No, in all seriousness, it's a fantastic endorsement for Debbie and indeed the work that we do in the foundation. And I hope that by Debbie having a much wider view of everything that's good in community work in the EFL, that will then be able to be magnified in what we do at the foundation going forward. So I'm personally, obviously hate losing you, but I think you couldn't have gone to a better place from my perspective.
Yeah, and Pete McLeod, who runs the foundation, has already found me a spot so I can hot desk. So not only am I planning to come to games, that I've already got a little seat being kept warm if the new chief exec lets me through the door. So
we can charge that back to the EFL. Andrew, did you hear that? Hot desk at £10 an hour.
Just on the foundation, can you just sort of give us an update, Debbie, on sort of what's going on with the foundation and any sort of things that are going on? Because I know from a personal point of view that you've got the girls coming on board a little bit, taking the younger age groups and that sort of thing in the next few months. Is there lots of exciting stuff going on in the foundation at the moment?
Yeah, I think there's a few things I would say. So I think we all hoped that the foundation would have moved on at pace more than it has. We've had a bit of a false start on the foundation, as everybody knows. Community is absolutely running through our club, like writing through a stick of rock. It's incredibly important to us. There was a fair bit of heavy lifting to do in the foundation, and there's still a fair bit, around things that need to be in place behind the scenes. But in the meantime, what we've not been great at doing is really shouting about some of the great work that does go on. We do some amazing work in schools. We've got the warm space running. We've done the coat collections. We've done all kinds of wonderful projects that we've not necessarily been great at shouting about. So we've got Pete McLeod heading up the foundation now. In terms of the women and girls pathway, there'll be a BTEC for girls starting at Franklin College in September, and that's a natural feeder into our women's team. We've got an emerging talent centre that I believe will start in January for girls aged 12 and above. So that again is going to be amazing in terms of identifying talent. That's sponsored by the FA. So we were fortunate enough to be successful in applying for that. So what we're starting to do is really develop a pathway gradually to build into the women's team and to enhance the women and girls game in Grimsby.
Sounds brilliant. And we're just waiting now, I think, for the facilities at Humberston, I think. They've got some new there's quite a few new pitches going up around the town, aren't there? There's quite a lot of money that from different places. There's the Clee Fields development, and there's the obviously what the club are looking at with the training ground and that sort of thing that you're looking to do as a club. And then, like I say, so it's good because for too many years people have been scraping the knees and banging into the walls down at King George. It's about, obviously we've got the Bradley development and a couple of others, but it's way beyond time that we had some better facilities, and they are coming locally now, which is brilliant for boys, girls, and grassroots football in general.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think one of the things that I've been particularly nervous about with Deb leaving, though, is actually we want someone in that can oversee both the foundation and the football club, and I think Deb is so good on the foundation side of stuff, and we actually spoke about 3 or 4 months ago about making sure for next year it's a real focus. It's underutilised. I mean, again, there's a lot of great work goes on in there, and credit to that, but I think the opportunity to leverage the foundation in the football club, particularly as I think the next couple of years, could be tough for people. They've been tough anyway, but with interest rates and that highs, and when people's mortgages are going up and the cost of living doesn't like it's coming down, there's a real role for it to play. So that's the bit that as we hire someone new is making sure everyone's got that sort of focus. But I think, again, sort of joking aside, having Deb in the EFL thinking about this stuff for the whole of the UK is going to be a positive for us, because she knows it matters to us. Whoever comes in, it's a priority for them. So I think we're positioning ourselves well, but we can definitely do a lot more. And I think, it's a sort of a commitment for Andrew and I that we want to make sure that we leverage that part of the business as well.
We should also say that we've been calling it the foundation for a while, and yet we've not done a formal launch of that. So we asked in the fan survey earlier this year what opinions were, and it will become the Grimsby Town Foundation rather than GT Set, but it's sort of been drip fed out, really. There was changes of email addresses, etc. But we will do a bit of a splash just to launch that formally, and that's when we'll be able to talk about all the exciting new stuff that's coming.
I guess as well, Debbie, is this the career path you were expecting to take when you were at the YMCA? And one of the questions was, what are the sort of 3 lessons that you've learned through this business that might be different from your previous experiences?
Well, it's certainly not the career path that I thought I'd take. I never thought I'd be working in football, and I'm incredibly grateful to these guys for giving me that opportunity, because it's been an absolute privilege. The 3 lessons, I guess, I thought I knew workplace stress before I came into this job, and clearly I didn't have a clue. I remember when I wanted to raise the 8.4 million to build the YMCA building, and thinking, if I don't bring all this money in, it's not going to happen, and the town needs it. I thought that was stressful until I came to work in football. You'll never please everyone in football. That's been quite tough. I think in previous roles, I've been used to, if you generally do the right thing and you listen to your stakeholders, and if you work really hard, then the majority of people are going to really warm and respond to what you do. But in football, you come to realize that, you think you're taking decisions that the majority of the fan base or people have been asking for, and then you just read those few comments and you think, yeah, you're never going to please everyone. I read something a few days ago. I remember when we were designing the current shirt, and I was obsessed with being able to get the stripes all the way down the back. And we went to great lengths to get the stripes down the back, because I'd read loads of fans saying, "Oh, if only we could have stripes all the way down the back." And then I read something last week or the week before where a fan had said, "Oh, can't we go back to having the white box on the shirt?" And I thought, yeah, I was so proud when we got that one over the line. But then you read that and you think, nah, you're never gonna please everyone. And then I guess the other thing is that what struck me really strongly is that there's always so much more that goes on behind the scenes than supporters realize. So much that so many different factors that go into making a decision, and the priority is usually to make sure that it's the right thing for the first team. So we will always consider supporters' views, etc., but ultimately we want to win games. And sometimes you see opinions from supporters that have only considered a fraction of the list of ingredients, if you like, that go into making that decision.
It sounds silly, but I drive up and down, not just about decisions, but you talk about the smaller things that you don't think about as a supporter. And I drive up and down Grimsby Road regularly. I work on Grimsby Road, and it's somebody's job after every home game to get the sign next to the Cons Club ready for the advertising the game after. It just appears as a supporter, but it's somebody's job to do that. And and occasionally you've been past 2 days later and the old sign's still up, and you're like, and you know, for whatever reason, it's not changed, and not recently, but it's just like, oh yeah, you know, it's somebody's little job just to do something, not little, but it's a big thing to get advertising the next game, but it's something that you just wouldn't think about as a supporter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, stuff you don't see as well. It's like there's so much care that's taken over making sure players and their families feel welcome. I was talking to Ads the other day about this, and just like one of the players locked himself out of the accommodation. So Ads gets a call at like 11:15 at night with a young player going, "I'm locked out," and it's like, so Ads, of course, what Ads does is he'll go down and try and sort that out. But you know, in a single incident, they're no big deal. But there's thousands of those over a period. So it's just interesting again on the other side. And I guess this is why sometimes, you know, even though I think we're fairly robust, the three of us, but you do take it a bit personally, because there is a lot of effort goes on behind the scenes. It'd be boring to talk about all this stuff, right? And it's no point in mentioning it. But when, you know, the amount of effort that goes in to getting the team into a shape so at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon they can perform is you know, maybe it does right in Dev actually, because it'd be interesting for people as an insight into all those little things that just cumulatively add up beyond the obvious stuff, I guess.
And there's so much hard work, you know, and sometimes, you know, I've learned in the last 2.5 years that sometimes it's not always a great thing to employ supporters, because I'll say to people at interview, are you sure you want to come and do this? Because you have an image of what this football club is like, and then you step into our world and you realize it's relentless. It's an absolute privilege, but it's hard work. The reality sometimes, it just kind of taints the image that you have of the dream, you know, and it's not for everyone, because the bubbles burst a little bit in terms of, you know, what it takes to turn the wheel week in, week out. I mean, we're so blessed with so many hardworking, passionate individuals, and we run a lot on goodwill, you know. So the fact that Ads is prepared to go out to a player at 11 o'clock at night, you know, there are just story after story after story that supporters just wouldn't believe, and it wouldn't be professional to divulge them, but of things that go on just to make sure that everyone feels supported, everything just runs tickety-boo. I mean, it doesn't always run exactly perfect, but so much effort goes in behind the scenes to try and make sure it does as much as possible.
So basically, you don't want to see how the sausage is made.
Yeah, we're not putting like turkey beaks and pronouns in. Like it's run well and it's run professionally. So it's not like the bunch of sausages you're talking about, I suppose. Not Petit sausages, definitely not. I don't mind seeing those. 100% high quality turkey beak.
Of course, yeah.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I remember when Adam used to live next door, and he used to have people living with his mum and dad, which was always quite entertaining. And let's start with some of the questions then. So Steve asked, this is the one stadium question everyone gets. After that, I'm done, because I'm getting bored of them. Is the work on the main stand that was postponed last summer going ahead this close season? And can you give a brief overview of the plans?
I think the answer to the question is yes. We are planning to do it in the close season. And what we're doing is, and we did do some work in last close season. It wasn't completely ignored last year. But essentially, if you're looking at it from the finders, you'll see there on the left side of the main stand, there are I think it's 9 columns that support that part of the stand, and the plan is they're beyond their kind of useful life, and so we're advised that it's prudent to replace them with some new columns, and rather in the same way as when we looked at the fact we had to replace the barrier on the top of the finders with the glass barrier. We're looking at trying to improve the overall experience for fans in the main stand. So we're looking at replacing those 9 columns with 4 columns. So hopefully it'll be a little bit better views from the main stand. There'll be steel and so there'll be quite the reason that quite a lot of work needs to happen. Needs to happen in the closed season is because we have to get big cherry pickers and cranes into the stand to move some quite big chunks of steel to hold the old lady up.
Can I ask one question, because it was alluded to and it's something that I've noticed? Are you expecting any other nasty surprises with that stadium? Because it's amazing what things have come out of the woodwork, and I don't want to say woodwork in case it's the main stand, but are you surprised with how many things that have come out in the last 2-3 years?
I think the timing of our takeover of the club was coincided with a 10-year structural survey that was carried out on the stadium. So the rhythm is you have an annual inspection, and then you have a rigorous inspection every 10 years. And it's items coming out of that 10-year inspection that we're progressively going through and addressing in sort of priority order each season, each close season. And so there's a plan each close season, and even going forward, there are still some works that will need to be done in the following close seasons, notably just dealing with the fact when we're very close to the sea there. The metal in various of the stands corrodes in the sea air over the years and just needs to be retreated and repainted, things like that, which they just add up. And sadly, with an old stadium, you I think you inevitably have that happening. And again, we've been very careful about not sort of talk about the prior regime, and I'm not going to start that tonight. But again, it's fair to say there were quite a lot of things that we've had to catch up on.
I'm slightly worried what you're going to say about the sea. Then you're going to have to put up a barrier or something like that.
Well, we are I think the lowest football ground in the country in terms of above. I think we're about 1 meter above sea level. So, but there is a decent sized seawall, and the council do appear to be supportive of building the salmon factory behind, which probably will get flooded first if there was an inundation of water.
Well, it'd be good for their business. They'll have.
I was going to say the salmon will be better than the football as well.
Salmon will be happy. Yeah.
I think it's worth adding that. And Andrew obviously just talked about all of the steel work that needs painting. So this is work that it's not going to enhance your match day experience. You're probably not going to even notice it, but it will absolutely cost the club a fortune. And so I just want to be really clear about that, because I think if we sort of touch on it, these are still big jobs, really, big pieces of work to do. But they won't necessarily make your experience as a supporter in the stadium feel any better. And they've built up. So
unless you have like a really detailed love of paintwork, there might be a few in the fan base that actually do like paintwork on steel. But the alternative's not palpable as well, right? Which is there's no commercial case for knocking the stands down and build up. Even if you build a new stand, you're above 10 million quid again. So again, it's just you've got to do the best. I love the character of Blundell Park, and we've got to do. I've personally been a bit surprised by the amount of work. Andrew's incredibly diplomatic about it. I've been surprised just generally by the amount of work that's required, but we've got to crack on. Unfortunately, we've got to try and cut our cloth around that.
The only thing I'd say is if everyone wants to keep these beautiful old stadiums, then maybe someone at the EFL needs to start putting a proposition together in how to preserve these stadiums going forward, given they need more money and financial support. I don't know. I don't know if we know anyone. Right.
Week two in the job.
Week two. That one
we've already got the email composed, ready to go.
It's the SGSA we'd have to speak to. We have to have conversations with the SGSA.
Next year's Christmas party, Deb. Get some photos on someone.
I can see this now. Already moving us into the Championship week 1, getting money for the stadium week 2. I guess one of the questions then as well, then Debbie, you touched on them, was what are the next steps in improving the match day going experience was one of the questions we were asked.
I think from the point of view of the match day experience, it's kind of where we've improved the football. We've improved the football club right across every area, but generally what we've done is we've prioritized getting money into the first team. And what I would say is that everybody at the football club is really, is really working hard. So any improvements that come next have got to be paid for. So I would sort of, just caveat everything I say with that. And so I suppose when I think about the match day experience, I think, well, hopefully we've improved the food. We've worked really hard to, we've got a ratio now of 75% to 25% of our own stewards. So we're bringing in less and less outside stewards. We've invested ourselves, and the Mariners Trust have invested in the tannoy system. Hopefully, it might not be your amazing tannoy system that you hear in some stadiums, but it's a lot better. I think the next step for me is really around the music. I would just love to see us having a bit more of an identity. And yet I saw one of the comments was, why do we have music when we score a goal? And I don't think we should ever underestimate the power of the crowd at Blundell Park. We already do a really good job of getting children involved in the match day. I saw one of the comments was around, having older ball retrievers, but every week we've got a different grassroots team that are looking after that. They receive the training before the game, and that's, for me, that's stuff that we do really well. So yeah, we could have the same ball retrievers every game, and yes, we might see those small marginal gains from either holding on to the ball a bit longer or getting the ball back a bit quicker. But those kids all have a lot of training with our coordinator before they get going. And I think, it's really nice to see the experiences of those children. So for me, I think it's the music. I would really like to see us having that identity and having the crowd really get behind the team with the music that we play, putting on a bit more of a show.
I'll build on that. I mean, it's interesting, wasn't it, on Saturday? I haven't had an atmosphere like that at a game for a long time. I mean, we've had some good crowds in the last couple of years but there was something about, the upper singing and the atmosphere it created, and then that reflected on the pitch with a better performance. And the biggest thing that changes the quality of the experience for everyone is are we playing good football, and do we get involved as a crowd? The food going to get to a certain level. There's only, you lose are what they are, and we're trying to improve them. But I think the big thing for me is actually the atmosphere on Saturday. The thing that changed the game and my enjoyment of the game was the quality of the football and seeing what we're trying to do. And then just I was sat next to David's wife Gemma and his daughter Freya came to the game on Saturday, and like, it was properly emotional when the upper started singing Dave Artell's Black and White, or whatever it was. It was like, I just saw them. I was like, what an atmosphere. It hasn't been like this for a while. And so that, to me, will stick in my memory as, the experience of going to watch Grimsby Town. That's what makes it brilliant, right? Are the crowd involved, watching a product that we're proud of and gets us excited as well. So I do think, for you guys, I know you debate this a lot, and we say to Chris and Dave on the Trust as well, like, we're open to ideas about anything that can get the crowd more involved. It's not beholden on us to say, look, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. It's like, what do fans want? What does the Trust? We're happy to go along with it. But, I'd love that sort of, that sense of, if we could get that every week with the upper singing and the pontoon responding and that was electric on Saturday. It was so enjoyable as a result. But we all know that comes from the football being entertaining.
I mean, our fans are as passionate as any fans around the country. And if you look at the most passionate fans, it's often people like Sunderland and Newcastle, and you look at what they do at St James's Park to really get the atmosphere going. It's electric up there, flags and singing, and if we can get that sort of backing for the players, as David said in a number of his interviews, he's been pleasantly surprised by lots of things, and one of the things has been the support of the fans and turning Blundell Park back into a fortress. Must be in everyone's interest, and making it a place that people are have a bit of trepidation about coming to.
Ask you guys. I mean, another question. You know, it's like I love Dave's enthusiasm about, you know, we could be Galatasaray, not quite Galatasaray, whatever he said. I was like, yeah, we're definitely
Think
not
of the
quite.
policing bill.
I was like, once we see him going into the centre circle with a flag, we'll know we're there. But like, what would you like to see him? I mean, was that experience? I don't know which of you guys went, but it was electric on Saturday. It was one of those really memorable days for many reasons. But you know, did you guys experience that? And other things that you think the club could be doing that's fan led to try and get that week in, week out?
Well, I was watching in Bordeaux, but you could definitely sense when we were 2-1 down, it's like the 60th minute, 70th minute, you could hear a different noise from what you've heard previously, and then you could actually see that have an effect on the football pitch. Like you saw players running that little bit extra and hanging on that little bit more. So from a fan's point of view, you could definitely see the effect it had, and you could definitely hear it was different from how it's been for quite a while.
And I think we've had that conversation on here a couple of times now, haven't we? Where we, a group outside of the trust who are there to try and create an atmosphere. I see Stockport County do that, and Tranmere Rovers do that, where fans get together to try and create that sort of atmosphere. The drummer would be a great thing. Hanging flags permanently at the back of the pontoon and the other stands as well is maybe a useful thing to do to try and create that additional identity. I see they do that at Aldershot, who have a surprisingly good atmosphere given the sort of size of their crowds as well. There's lots of little things, and it also is the football on the pitch, and also the guys that go, the people that go. That it's that sort of 2014 to 2017 sort of era when there was a particular set of people who went to make that atmosphere, was one of the reasons why a lot of those away days were so interesting.
I wonder whether we set you guys and the fan base generally a bit of a challenge then, which is to have a discussion about how we respond to what Dave's requested, right? Which is, how do we make it fortress? How do we make it a place that's intimidating for people to come to? And like be honest, that make it enjoyable for all of us. So I wonder whether there's a discussion, and Chris will probably hate me for this, but like, whether this is fan led, right? The worst thing we can do is go, fans should do this, and it's like prescribed fun, is there? Like the Christmas party. So, but I think I would drop the challenge at the fan base's feet though, and go, look, what collectively, and what's your ask of us that we can say, look, let's make it every week so it's electric like it was on Saturday, and make it a really an intimidating place for the people to come, and more fun for all of us. So I wonder in the new year whether maybe that's a podcast you could do and come up with a list of suggestions, and and Chris can help with that. Maybe get Chris on, and so it's practical as well, because there's a limitation. But I'd love the fan base to go, how do we respond to what Dave's asked for, and really get so week in, week out we have that atmosphere that we had last Saturday, rather than just being now and again.
I think
Andrew needs to steal the flags from Newcastle United from last night. Just go up there and those black and white flags must be kicking around under some seats still. What were you going to say? Sorry, Bruce. Mine was pointless.
I was just going to say that I think some of it will be organic. That the atmosphere hasn't been great for
Two decades,
sort of couple of years. Well, on and off. But oddly enough, sometimes we've had a better atmosphere at Bundle Park when there's been 3,000 there than we have when and it might sound stupid, but I think that when we got the upturn in numbers of the season ticket holders, obviously everybody then is sat in a set seat every week, and it got to the point where people were buying season tickets, and a lot of them were families, which is brilliant, and we need, they're the future of the fan base. But it takes time for these kids to learn the songs and to learn how to support the team. It's really funny because I see us put in a crap performance or a couple of crap performances, and I'm moaning like mad. And Maisie sat next to me, who's been going for, I don't know, 8, 10, 12 years, 10 years maybe. And, you moan all the time. And she's seen nothing but general shit. She hasn't seen them in the Championship like I have or whatever. And she's like, you're always moaning, And you see these kids walking out, and we've lost a game and we've played appallingly. But for some reason, they're still happy. They enjoy being at Bundle Park, being a fan. And I think in time they'll learn the songs and they'll learn how to support the team. And and I think we'll all benefit from that. And I think if the atmosphere gets going again, and the fans are given something entertaining on the pitch that gets them going, then that top left corner that we all grew up with, of the pontoon, that was the lively bit that's been quiet for the last 18 months or a couple of years, whatever, or however long you want to say. That's where they'll want to go again, because I went in the main stand my first few games, and then, that looks quite good up there. I want to go up there, and I'm sure Jason and Andrew have got the same story. You two as well. And if the ground and the club get going again, I think that'll grow naturally. I do
think in response to that, though, Bruce, there is a little bit like we can be proactive in that. Though I was thinking about the songs, right? Now this I'll shoot myself in the foot here, but like occasionally I get a song in my head and I'm like, it's awful. Can you imagine like me or Andrew coming up with songs for us? It'd be a terrible idea. But as fans, you could put a video out there the week before, or with the lyrics or whatever. And we could pick, or you could have a competition where, like the last Christmas stuff was brilliant, right? At Oxford, hearing that, I was like, that's stuck in my head now. Like, that's something that again elevates the experience and the collective experience of going to watch football. Someone's come up with that, and I just wonder, could we be a bit more proactive where next year we get them to someone writes a couple of new songs for us and we do something, have a vote on it or whatever, and we can, there is stuff we can do to once that flame's lit, is to fan it a bit. I think that's it going, it's the football and us. The other thing, by the way, Bruce, is like, Maisie just likes being with her dad. Obviously, you haven't thought of that she's coming to the football, not for the football. She just wants to be with her dad on a Saturday afternoon. I say that not just jokingly, is that's the experience of like what we're doing here, is that sometimes the football is incidental. It's about time together. It's about an opportunity to have a shared space, sing a few songs and have those stuff lodged in your ear. And I just wonder whether, we could do more to engender that sense of trying to create an experience that is not just about the football's massive, it's critical, it elevates it, but there's a bit more to it than that, and I think there's something we could do collectively to make that work a bit harder.
I think one other thing I'd add to that is to try to not just increase the positivity but reduce the negativity, because I think often you kind of hear stories about the fans have turned and the players can feel that as well. So I think we've been better on that in the last couple of years, but there definitely are moments where you can see that transmits across onto the pitch. So again, trying to engender as much positivity as we can and avoid the negative vibes is, I think, also as important.
All yours, Mike.
Cheers, mate. Yeah. Moving back to sort of on the pitch, it's no secret. I think we've had a difficult start, and we've lost a manager. We've now employed a new one. I know you guys have spoken about this in the media when we've appointed when we got rid of Paul and we've appointed David. But just sort of from a personal perspective, what was it like having to reach the conclusion to get rid of Paul, because he's been here the entire time you guys have been here? He's been a big part of some massive success at this club, and probably got a bit of a raw deal from some quarters at some times. So just with regards to the process, how did you get there, and how was it to sort of go through that?
Well, I'm happy to start on this. I mean, I think you have to think in two ways. One is what does the organisation need, and that's a professional, that's a rational decision. It has to be somewhat calculating about, are we where we need to be in the future, progressing to the model and the strategy that we've got, and that's just a really clear, and that's anything from your business life as it should be. And then the second part is the emotional decision, and it is emotional because it's people's livelihoods, it's their careers and that. So, but they have to be distinct, and to run organisations, your obligation is to make sure that the organisation is fit for purpose and actually can meet the strategic objectives that you're trying to set out. And there comes a point where if you're deviating from that, then you have to make a decision as a shareholder or as a CEO or anyone that manages people. And so, but it should always be hard. I say this to people, when it's not hard, then you've lost something of yourself, because you have to consider how it lands with people and doing it. It's never going to be good, but there's a whole range of how, if you consider the morality of it and how you want to communicate that, it can be done very differently on that continuum, and that matters to us. So our standard decision, we talked about it for weeks. We were looking at tracking the data, looking at, trying to look for causes for optimism and the things that, we want to do as a club, and we were just deviating from it. So rationally, it was a fairly straightforward decision for us once we got to the data and our sense of where we were going. It was incredibly difficult because, we've got a really close relationship with Paul. Respect him. He's given us some of the best memories in my life as a town fan. But, we're starting to see now in its early days, it's like there are a number of things that weren't happening that we want to happen for this football club. And so, it should always be hard. And, and I still feel that. But, for me, as a shareholders or as CEOs, your obligation is to make sure that the business has the best chance of being successful and fulfilling the things we've set out for it. And unfortunately, we were deviating from that.
It was a unique set of circumstances, though, really, wasn't it? Given there are very few clubs that will have a parting of ways quite like that, in terms of a lot of respect shown by fans, and the vast majority was like, "Thank you for the memories." That's a really unique set of circumstances where you haven't had that vitriol that when someone is finally let go, shall we say, that you would probably experience in football. It's not something I've experienced before.
No, there's another moment. It comes back to the fan conversation, right? So we sat there at Doncaster knowing what it was only the three of us that talked about it, because A, we wanted to make sure that it wasn't leaked at all, and B, we had alignment and clarity about how we were going to have these conversations. But on that day, you remember, Donny, it was that the fan base was incredible. That whole game. So there was a few knobheads, but on the whole, 99% of the fan base was right. We were on a shit run. The game wasn't great, and yet the fans were on their feet, really willing us on again. And I was like, it's amazing again. And it's that when it comes down to it, we get behind the team, and we try and support the lads. But it was we had testimony to Paul and Chris. It's like as I said, the memories that we've got working with them the last couple of years are some of my best memories as a fan and as this club. And yet we're ambitious for the club, ambitious for where we want it to go. In all dimensions, by the way, not just league position, because Debbie will sort that out next week. But actually, in terms of what we're trying to do as a football club, we want to improve it. Andrew and I have said we want to, when we move on, is that we want to make sure we look back and go, we've done our best, and the club is in better shape in every dimension. And so it was, I think it was fitting and it was respectful, because they've been brilliant for this club, and I hope at the right point they'll come back and get celebrated in the way that they deserve. Because I think the last couple of years have been remarkable, but it wasn't where we needed to be next stage of the journey. That's the thing about football, is it does move on quite quickly, but we wanted to make sure we were deliberate and thoughtful about the time of that. But it was a really considered decision, and it wasn't easy. But I think it was great that people in that way, with a lot of love, affection and respect for Paul and Chris.
Did you manage to draw, sort of, with reviewing it all? Did you pin yourself down to what you think went wrong, or do you think it was just one of those things? It was a points in a result business, or did you come with a conclusion about what you thought went wrong?
I don't think it's good again to sort of point things. I'll tell you what we know for the future. This is not a comment on the past. Is that we think what we've got and what we've hired for is a clarity of game model, an expectation around evidence based taking alongside the emotion of football. We want to make sure we're looking at data, so we're making calculated decisions around the people that we've got. We want it to be a collective decision. We want to make sure that we have an end-to-end process that our academy players have been trained to the game model that gives them the greatest chance of being in our first team at some point. So that's not coming on post. That's what we want, John. And we think Dave Artell is the right person to do that, rather than go, these things went wrong. There's not, it would be pure speculation. But what we've got to now, it gave us the space to think about what we want clearly for the next stage. I think we've got that now, and it won't be perfect, but I think we've had a great start, better than any of our expectations. That continues from Sean and Ben, what they did to the game on Saturday. But that's not a comment on the past. I think we want to stay away from that. We always think it's uncivilized and it's disrespectful for what people have achieved. People shouldn't be remembered for that little bit at the end. They should be remembered for what they've achieved for a couple of years. But as we think to the future now, and we think that we had a better chance of achieving that with David Artell.
Just talking about the future, Jason, one of the questions that we had, I can't see it on the list now, but somebody talked about. I couldn't believe when I was looking the other day that we're coming up 3 years in the spring since you two took over. And obviously, you initially said you were going to be chair for 3 years. Not that I don't know how big a thing it is, as far as you guys are concerned in the future of the club. But is that still the plan, or do you think you might carry on longer in the role, as it stands?
Yeah, Andrew and I are going to talk about that in the new year. We just think for now, there's so much change going on, and look, Andrew and I both spend a lot of time on this collectively, and so I think what we've said is, look, let's get to the new year. At the moment, the club needs consistency. It doesn't need more change. Debbie's leaving, and obviously that's going to be a period of change with a new CEO. We've got a new manager in. So what we've said is, let them think about it at the moment. Andrew and I'll sit down in the first quarter next year and decide. As a general principle, again, we haven't got any conclusions. I think it's good from a governance point of view that people don't stick around too long and you get new ideas in. But at the moment, there's been so much changes that we just want to make sure that we're not throwing, more change into the organisation. If it means me staying on a bit longer, I'll be fine with that. But equally, we'll get to it in the new year.
Let's have a quick look. See what else was asked. Gents, have you got one? Because I was just trying to find Bruce's one.
It's a complete deviation from what we've just been talking about. But obviously, I went to the youth team cup game. I don't know if any of you. I think Debbie was there, but I don't know if you two were over for that. But it was a brilliant night, and obviously, with the future in mind, David's talking about that. He wants to, that the whole club's plan is that we want to bring more youth through if they're good enough. And there was some talk that potentially, or amongst a few people, it was suggested to me that we had that free weekend at the start of January when we should be playing Wimbledon, and was it possible to get the game on? And then as a follow-on from that, somebody else has asked, obviously an exile. Will we be streaming it again? Because I think that went down really well. I don't know whether that's possible again, or if you could just if you've got any plans for the next round of the Youth Cup.
So I guess the first thing I'd say on that one, it's a real ripe example of that, those ingredients that I talked about that go into making decisions. So without a doubt, we can see that we've got that weekend, and I can see why people would jump to that conclusion naturally about that game. And nobody wants more than us for us to pack Blundell Park with supporters getting behind our youth team. But we also have over 10 of our youth team players that are in digs in Grimsby that will be going back to their family over Christmas. We'll have to consider how long they've been back in training, what's the best opportunity we can give them to win that game, the best preparation possible. So whilst there might be a school of thought that thinks, yeah, that's the absolute right time, that won't be a school of thought that is necessarily shared right across the football club. So I think that, that's an example of what I was talking about when I was saying about decisions and fans seeing, just one window into what goes into the melting pot there. Streaming the game, we took a real gamble on that. We agreed if we could just break even. We listened to our supporters. We know that they want to see more coverage of the youth team, and if we had additional resources, then that would absolutely be happening. But what we've done is we've really improved the coverage of the first team in the last couple of years. Our away games for the first team used to be covered on our social media via from Grimsby Town staff via the BBC Radio Humberside commentary. Now you've actually got staff at games, etc., etc. So you're seeing a real improvement there. So the service broke even, and so we definitely look to do that again, because we're listening all the time. We know that's what our supporters want, and we want you to see that improved coverage, and we want to get behind the youth team squad. They're doing amazingly.
No, it was a good night, and the atmosphere. Until last weekend, the atmosphere after they scored was probably the best it's been for several months, and that was with probably 500 people in the main stand. It was it was a good night, and they thoroughly deserved it, and it was a great winning goal, and Woodsy continues to do the business 30 odd years after he came to the club.
It is
And how-
amazing, actually, just to put. So I was going to say, to put that on there, the quality of players that we've got coming through, that's why this end-to-end strategy is really important. We've got quality players coming through, you know, and there's a real batch of players that have got a chance if we give them a model to play to. I'll tell you the one thing that was a great example, actually, Bruce, because like I saw that online and I thought, well, that's a great idea. I didn't know this, that the youth team have break up and they have 2 weeks off entirely. So if they played on the 6th, it would mean them coming in 2 days before. And so we said, look, the priority is winning the games. But I didn't know that as well. So again, it's just interesting what on face value looks like a great idea. The one thing I would say, I watched the youth game on video. It's like when they scored, every single player went and slid in the corner on their knees, not just the goal. You know, I was like, oh God. You know, I felt like sort of the fun police. I was like, these lads, someone ran like 80 yards, and another one like the pitch. So there is a little bit of me, but if we can get them at B pitch for them and give them a chance to sort of prepare for being on a Saturday in the future, it's definitely the priority.
Maybe I'm showing my age, but you know, doing a knee slide must be pretty dangerous in terms of risk of injury.
When you pass 50, that's definitely true. When you pass 50,
I definitely do it in stages rather than in one shot. But
would you prefer that when a goal is scored, that now players just gently sow some grass seed back onto the pitch? Is that what you prefer?
I think. I mean, maybe I'll chat to Neil, but maybe it's
maybe a formal bow or something. Yeah,
maximum like a firm handshake between each other, or maybe maximum 2 people knee sliding off the pitch. Like you go off the pitch on the bit the other side of the white line, slide away there, you know, actually, or have a swim. The amount of water was there at the weekend, but like. It was like, I'm sure I counted like 14 people knee sliding. Subs were coming on a knee sliding. I might have seen Neil there at some, which was, but like, no, I think it's.
You sounded like the school caretaker, Jason.
I know, it's bad, isn't it? Maybe it's just my state of mind because I've got a cold.
We would take a knee slide, surely, if we could beat Millwall.
That is true, actually. That is absolutely true.
Actually, yeah, that's another thought. Grimsby Millwall on a Saturday. All of a sudden, the youth team is the biggest policing bill you've got.
And then we'll have Martin, like groundskeeper Willie out the Simpsons, won't we, coming around chasing the kids around with a fork or something, tearing up his pitch.
Well, it's just a designated knee slide zone. That's all we'll have. Just like somewhere we'll find a part of the pitch. You know, usher the players gently after a goal scored to the knee sliding area. Official. Maybe get sponsored, Deb, actually. Official knee sliding by maybe some cod liver oil company sponsor the joints. Anyway, quick, ask a question. I'm obviously had too much medication.
So I've got one going back to matters on the pitch. I mean, I think it's quite noticeable that most fans seem to be feeling a lot happy and a lot more positive with what's going on the pitch over the last few weeks. So you guys have obviously been through a process with appointing a new manager and appointing Dave Artell. So sort of from that process, maybe being your first time going through that fully, how did you find that? What did you learn and what did you make of the process? And also Ben Ranshaw's got probably the best question going. He says, Jason, what sandwich did you make David on his visit to your house? And to follow that up, Debbie, what is your favourite sandwich?
Should we start with that one? Because I feel like I've set, and then Andrew can maybe talk about the process, but I think I've set a bit of a hair on this. So when I was caught off guard on that, when I interview senior people for any of my businesses, the last interviews, they come to my house and I cook for them, and I generally do cook for them. But what happened was when we did the final interviews, I run out of time that morning. So the shame of it, I didn't even make a sandwich. My wife, Lorna's like, I'll go, you haven't got time. My wife went out and bought some sandwiches. I'm ashamed now. So I genuinely, anyone that's employed a senior role normally comes and eats with me because I think it's important to have that time. I think we had some Marks and Spencer's. So it was a nice buffet. It's only gluten-free stuff. But so it was a selection of shop bought sandwiches. I can't believe I've misrepresented my cooking skills on this occasion. So I apologise for that. But there was a selection of sandwiches, including gluten-free, some wraps, and I believe some fruit sticks as well, wasn't there? But
there was
sausage rolls as well.
This just gets worse. Every time you speak about this, Jason, you go from I cooked food to I made a sandwich, now you brought it. So
I was
next time he's not going to have gone round, is he?
I will be whoever I will be cooking for the next. I do enjoy cooking. I think it's an important part of the process. But on this occasion, I did say cook, and then I was like sandwiches. I was like, no, we didn't, did we? I didn't on this occasion. I misrepresented myself there with a Marks and Spencer. I did put the dish in the dishwasher afterwards, after everyone had left. If that's some sort of consolation.
You know what? I think it was a lovely gesture because just the week before we'd been in Manchester, and if you remember, because I'm celiac, so I have gluten-free sandwich, and I said to Jason that Marks and Spencer's do the best ones ever. So the fact that he went to Marks and Spencer's to get the sandwiches, I think, was really kind.
You go, Deb.
And he
Lorna
does,
went.
to be fair, he does
I
do a
might
meat
have done it
for
again. Lorna did it. You want me? I did mention to those. I'm like, I've got to come clean. Like, I feel like I'm misrepresenting myself here, but you know, it's.
I like the idea that David is driving down the road and sees you running out of the co-op with a couple of sandwiches in the back.
I'll tell you a quick story though. So years ago, I was trying to raise money for a business, and we had these guys flying to from New York, and I took them to the contact center we had in my business, and we didn't have PAs and stuff in those days. It wasn't we were making enough money, so I said to one of the young guys, "Here's a favour, could you have a couple of sandwiches?" And I've got these important people from New York, and they knocked on the door and they came in with a bag of Greg's sandwiches and just put them in the middle of the table and walked off. I was like, all I could think was like, well, you know, we're not spending a lot of money on hospitality. We did the deal actually, but I was like, it was just absolutely perfect for the stage of business. That was like a steak bake and a couple of egg rolls basically in the bag, just not even plates, napkins or anything. So this was an upgrade on that at least. Andrew, do you want to talk about the process?
Sure. I mean, apart from the fact
making the sandwich.
There was just a lack of. I should have. I lacked a bit of forethought because I should have bought some pettit sausages to seal the deal. But that was
completely.
That was definitely a mistake. But no, the process was again as you correctly identified, first time we've done it, and you know, I guess a couple of different things from a recruitment perspective compared to normal. One is the kind of the urgent, the sense of anticipation of the fans, which obviously was, and indeed the media, in terms of, you know, being asked constantly about you know, where we were on things, the speculation that was going on the fishy, which was astonishing in terms of the number of pages that it reached and the imperfection of a lot of the views. But no, the process we tried to approach it in as professional way as we would in a normal very senior hire, in terms of setting out a spec of what we were looking for, and also as we have been doing with players, looking to try and sell the club and sell the benefits of coming to Grimsby to potential shortlisted candidates. Joe Hutchison did a fabulous job of both fielding initial inquiries, but then also getting real colour for us on candidates, and that for I think for all of us was a real differentiator from normal recruitment process, because usually in a normal recruitment process you just get relatively anodyne feedback on candidates or references. It seems in football, one of the other differences in football is you do get quite colourful and sort of and not just positive but other feedback on various candidates. So from that perspective, it was interesting. We had to sort of sift through quite a lot of that, for all the candidates that we were considering. But ultimately, when it came down to it, it was assessing the strongest candidates against the set criteria that we set ourselves. Looking through their submissions, which we asked them to submit against the spec and against the criteria that were prepared, and then ultimately, it came down to the personal chemistry, and again, I think it's been pretty well documented. We had two candidates at the end, and David was the standout candidate, and I think we all said to ourselves, after the sandwiches, that that we had the next manager in the room, and so yeah, it was I think a very thorough but somewhat different process, and as we'll maybe see with Deb's replacement, that'll be a more standard approach. But I think it was the referencing and the colour that Joe was able to get from a wide array of people, very very detailed feedback from players, coaches, people that used to work with a number of these folks, And we also did have feedback from some of the unsuccessful candidates that they felt the process was the most professional they'd come across, which was nice to hear as well. So, so yeah, it was a interesting few weeks, and I think so far so good in terms of the appointment.
Well, I don't think you could have asked for a better start, really. What were you going to say, Bruce?
I was just going to say, you guys will be ready for a couple of days off over Christmas, won't you? You've got this, and then the transfer window opens in January, and then obviously you've got the work that's going on around, the early preparations for anything that you're trying to do with that. So it must be quite relentless for the three of you. Even if you're not in the building full time, just with the conversations that you have and things like that.
I mean, the transfer window is a bit of a misnomer. I mean, Joe and obviously the prime management team and David and Sean and Ben now, are constantly looking at players. So it doesn't just suddenly spark up in January. There's a long list of players that are being looked at and considered at any point in time. It's again a very thorough process that's gone through. But yeah, I think as a club we're in good hands on that side.
It is relentless though, Bruce. I mean, apart and Debbie will tell you, she lives it 7 days a week and in the town as well. I think the one thing I'd say about the process was I came off social media for a few weeks because I just wanted to make sure we're making really good decisions without the noise. And I have massive respect for people's opinions and stuff and their games of football. I think we wanted to have clarity about making sure we got what we thought was the right person. There are things that you can take feedback on, and there are things where you've just got to try and make a decision. And so I definitely tried to shut down some of the noise on that. Occasionally when I did dip, it was amazing. It was really amazing, like the speculation over peers that we didn't even speak to, didn't apply to, and that they got completely out. And I'm like, wow, I need to just not be listening to that. Because it was fascinating just seeing people debating the pros and cons of someone that wasn't even suggested to us. But I think on the workload stuff, I think when we get to the conversation around whether I stay on again beyond 3 years, it's like this has consumed my life for the last 2.5 years. Like the stuff I'm doing in Grimsby, with Dev and Andrew, beyond the football club, it's the onside or the other things that we're trying to get involved with. This is all I've ended up doing. The rest of my life is like 10% now. So there's something about that being sustainable. And I think this is where I was maybe a bit touchy at the fans forum. It's like we're putting our hearts and souls there because it matters to us. And it's a privilege and we're grateful for that in many ways. But, it's got to be at a sustainable pace because the amount of stuff that needs thinking about, and we've got a CEO search now that needs to be considered and taken really seriously as well. So there's something about that. And so when it gets hard, and it's like the football isn't going well, and we're being questioned, and we're putting more money in than we'd hoped, and we're getting criticism for that, and then there's a lot of work to do. Yeah, there are definitely moments where you go, wow, this is a lot considering this is all we're doing. So. But on the net, it's a massive privilege, to be involved with our childhood club and, be able to think that we know that the ups and downs will be natural. The long term, it'll be improved when Andrew and I moved on, and that's what we keep focusing on, making sure we'll focus on that end state more than anything else. But there's a lot. It's relentless.
Well, you've kind of answered what I was going to ask at the end as well, because that was one of my observations. It felt like you cut a frustrated figure at the fans forum, and my question was, with all the knowledge you have now, would you have taken this project on when you did, 3 years ago?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think the bit of me is like I was at dinner in London last night with some entrepreneurs, and I was saying, entrepreneurs by their nature take on projects where the resource they've got doesn't match the project they're trying to take on, and without that attitude and that approach to stuff. So sometimes you're better off not knowing, because like the fun and the adventure is the learning and testing yourself in new situations. I think in many ways that's why the question, there's always 20/20 vision looking backwards and stuff, and with anything. My last business took me 8 years to build. At the start, I didn't think I was going to spend 8 years doing that. So I think in some ways the question's interesting, but ways it's irrelevant because none of us would. There's many things in our lives with perfect hindsight you wouldn't do. I'm not going to suggest children for a second or marriage for a second. That's up to other people. But I'm just saying that, like, the question in some ways, probably doesn't make sense because you probably wouldn't do anything if you just focused on the negatives of an experience. So for us, and as entrepreneurs, you're always prepared to bite off more than you can chew. And once you bite it off, you just have to keep chewing, and that's what we're doing, right? So we're happy with that, and we'll get it down at some point. But it's just in our nature. I know Andrew's the same. Is that I don't spend a lot of time worrying about things that go wrong or things that are challenging. That's the journey of life. It's interesting when you're challenging yourself. But if you look back on it and go, oh, there's a lot of stuff that's been hard or bad, is that a reason for not doing it? Then it's kind of, that's not the way I sort of view the world. So it would depend on my state of mind on any day. But I think I'm just really proud of what we're trying to do for the club and for the town. And it's a massive privilege. It's a massive privilege to be in a position to be able to be, custodians of the club at this stage of its history. And we're ambitious to make sure that we make a dent and we improve it. So is there a simple answer, Andrew? Is yours a straight yes or no?
No, I couldn't have put it better. I don't think it's you don't necessarily envisage everything that's going to happen. Footballs are very different to normal business, I'd say in many ways. And I think if you see the negative, then generally you're going to be a negative person. Whereas if you start with a positive outlook about trying to make change and trying to make a difference to not just to the club but to the town, then no, that's really where we're coming from and have been from day one. As we've said from several occasions, it's a terrible financial investment, but that's not the reason for doing it.
It must be different to what you've done in business previously, because I'm not a businessman, but there must be so many things in this, and I mean you'll probably say actually that it is the same, but it seems like you can set up with everything perfect and it can still go wrong. But you'll probably actually, in hindsight, as I go through thinking about the sentence, you probably tell me that can happen in business as well.
No, I think you're spot on, actually, Bruce. There is a big difference. So I know you don't get to run stuff else of Andrew and I have done, which is like you can influence stuff personally. So if something's going wrong in your business, you normally got to the position of being a CEO or a leader by being able to affect change on your way up to that position. So the massive difference is that if I saw a problem in my business, it's not a good way of leading, by the way. It's like when problems happen, you go and solve them yourself. But you generally influence stuff really significantly by your presence, your intellect, your work ethic and stuff. Whereas here you are beholden to 11 souls going out on a Saturday afternoon. And I think it's what we've been trying to do is shrink the distance between the things that we do and the effect that have on a Saturday afternoon. And I think that's what we're going into now, the system that we've had. The idea that someone chooses them, the way we play, and then 11 people go out and we hope for the best. And all the things you've seen from us in the last few years and the things you're going to see in the next few years are how do we personally affect the infrastructure, the culture, the people, the support for the leaders in the organisation, so that distance between what we're doing and the output on the field is closer, if that makes sense. So it'll never be as close as in a business because we can't get our boots on and try and run up and down for 90 minutes. But there is that distance will be shortened over time if you have better systems, clearer strategy, better people, better investment. Whereas in a business, I always find that even when we got to nearly 1,000 people in my last business, I was like, if there was a problem that I really needed doing, I could go in and I could influence that directly by being present or gathering people around it. And the other big one is that this matters to us. I mean, our businesses matter to us, and Andrew's in his day-to-day still. But this is our identity. This is our town. This is where we're from. This is it's part of our personal narratives as well. And the weight of that is just really different, right? Because it matters in a way that we can't walk away from it. This is who we are. This is part of what we're about. That's different with the business. There's fixed points for me: raise money, build something, sell it, whatever. There are fixed points that are chapters where even when we stop being, on the cap table of this business, it's like we'll still be fans and we'll still want to come and it'll still matter to us what happens. So that's quite different. But 85, 90 of it is a flat normal business, but that last 10-15% it weighs quite heavily because it matters. But that's a good thing as well, because you don't. I don't think you want people involved with a club that don't feel that right into the solar plexus, because it's part of our DNA.
I think the other big difference is compared to businesses, that you get measured and you have you get measured every week, or every Tuesday and Saturday. So, whereas in business it tends to be a little bit less regularly. So there are ups and downs and pressures, as Deb's alluded to, in terms of the relentless nature and the many small things that contribute to making the difference on a Saturday or a Tuesday.
I didn't anticipate the responsibility, but as soon as you're in the club, it absolutely grabs you. And I think everyone that works for the club that's why they're there, because it grabs you. The weight of shouldering the responsibility and knowing how much it means to people in the town and deeply caring about that is what just keeps you going when things are a little bit tough, when we're not winning. But the thought that I've had the opportunity to be part of something which is just amazing, even knowing what I know. And there's been some incredibly tough times in the last couple of years, in the last 2.5 years. I would grab it in a heartbeat again, because it's been an absolute privilege.
It's rarely dull at Grimsby. It's rarely dull. I think Rochdale spent something like 40 years in the 4th division or something, and they didn't go anywhere. And you look at the experiences that that the three of you have had. Since obviously, Jason and Andrew have always been fans, and they've seen the ups and downs. But if you look back at that 2.5 years and you look at what we've had, the relegation, the promotion, even the poor run where you stuck by Paul when many of us, including us in this room, were sort of baying for blood, and then you come back and you have that unbelievable playoff campaign and the cup run and everything like that. It really is a sort of a 2.5 year sort of, like, I don't know, microism, if you like, of what it is to be Grimsby Town supporter, because we've more promotions and relegations than anybody else, and you've seen that. You've seen that, the three of you, in 2.5 years. So
well,
you're doing well.
Sorry to interrupt you, Bruce. Sorry, mate.
No, you're all right. I was just rambling on at the end of the pod.
You need to.
I've made my point. You interrupted.
Sorry, mate. No, I was going to say that the bit for me though, and this is the it's quirk being an entrepreneur, is that I speak for I feel the best is ahead of us. I feel like about my life in general, not physically, obviously, that's declining rapidly, as you can see. But I think in terms of the opportunity for the football club, I genuinely believe that the best is ahead of us. I think what we're trying to do and what we've brought in with David, and that, again, that's no criticism of the past. It's been phenomenal for the last couple of years. But we're sat here now seeing what the plan that we've got, the people that we've got, and what we're trying to do. And I'm like excited about it. And the last couple of months have been challenging, but we always had one eye on what we were trying to get to, and now we can see it now. And we're like, okay, we're in this next chapter. We've turned the page. Let's go. And that's really exciting, because I can just see where we can make the gains and where the improvements can. And that's why SAP was so encouraging. And it's very early days, but with a clear identity, a leader that's clear about how he's trying to communicate and articulate what we want to do, and a bit of the social impact of the club in the town. I'm going, this is an exciting place to be for the next few years. And when we don't have that feeling, that's when it's time for someone else to come in and do the job. But right now, there's loads for us we can be doing to impact the trajectory of this football club. And as long as we're excited about it, hopefully that'll be communicated through the style of play and stuff. But that's a good space for us to be as we go into Christmas, feeling like, yeah, we've got good day, more good days than bad days ahead of us.
I think that's what it felt like on Saturday. You're going back to the Crew atmosphere. It just feels like the whole club is reinvigorated from the boardroom down to the stands, and the proverbial tea lady and everybody else. It feels like we're all when you come to the end of a manager, and I've seen plenty as a supporter, you're always split. There's the people who sort of think that they still should be there, and there are the ones that think that their time was up, and then there's the people sat on the fence in the middle. It feels at the moment like we're all going in the same direction again, and it makes the club more of a force.
Spot on.
Just really quickly, I know you've given us a lot of your time, and we really appreciate it. I've just got one quick one from Paul Andrew, which might be a nice one to end on. And he says, with your time from your time at Grimsby Town, has there been anybody that's left you a bit starstruck that you've met?
apart from Jason. Apart from Jason, yeah.
Debbie, do you want to go ahead with this one, Debbie, at all?
You want me to talk about Timmy Mallet?
That's amazing.
I'm assuming you do, Jason.
That was like, oh my God, when people talk about being involved with the football, it's just the one that people need to think about when they think about the glamour of football ownership. Go on, Deb.
I'm not telling the whole story, Jason, because that will be recorded forever in time. But we had an amazing day at Maidenhead, and it was full of surprises. That's all I'll say. Do you want to talk about? I'm assuming you wanted me to talk about Timmy.
I thought you were going to talk about Norman Lamont at Maidenhead. Not...
I thought you were going to talk about Ryan Reynolds.
No, it was funny. We went like one of the first away games. It was a great day. So I walked into the stadium, and like Maidenhead is, it is what it is as a stadium, right? And I walk up. So my day starts with I walk up. I've told this story before, and I was with my lad, and basically a bunch of fans said to him, "You enjoy coming with your granddad?" And like with no sense of irony in that, and he went, "Yeah." So he didn't even funded it. So I got double pie faced by my son and a bunch of town fans. We go to a port. It was a porter cabin where the hospitality was, and they wouldn't let me in because I dressed out. I normally dressed. They didn't believe that I was involved with the football. So I'm like, it's fine, mate, whatever. I eventually wriggled in through a back door, and Deb sat there, like just face down over a plate of, I don't know what it was. And what did you went, oh, did you say, oh, there's Timmy Mallet over there? And Steve didn't look up. Then he went, yeah, of course there is, Deb, like that. Like, and it was just the most surreal day anyway. And Timmy Mallet was a lovely guy, by the way, but it was
we'd had a bizarre experience. So when Steve was head down into his cottage pie, and I said, is that Timmy Mallet? He didn't even look up. He just was like, as if, how could this day get any more bizarre? Yeah, weird. Of course it is. But then we did meet Ryan Reynolds. That was lovely, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was top bloke. Actually, God, did I look? I mean, I made the mistake of being in a photo with him, and I looked like sort of bit off. Like I've actually photoshopped myself out of the photo and shown my wife because I was like, I was so you don't go and stand by 6'4", handsome, erudite, intelligent, caring Ryan Reynolds, and you look like you're from where I'm from, basically. It was awful. If I had a start, it was like an after photo of men can be. There was him in his prime, like Hollywood superstar. And I just looked like some sort of homeless person that had wandered in off the street to try and get his autograph. But I cropped the photo so it looked like Deb's on a date with him, basically. So maybe that could be on your leaving card.
He was a lovely man, wasn't he?
Yeah, utterly charming. And I think Wrexham are really fortunate to have an owner that cares about stuff that they care about. And just look, let's be honest, we're not going to be winning. Deb, not about you, Deb. I'll speak for myself and Andrew. Like we're not going to win any beauty pageants next to him in the future. But that was quite. I don't know about Star. Nice to meet him, and I think he cares about the club. But
not Joe Waters then.
No, it was nice as well. No, it's like I don't get starstruck. I think one of the things it's a Grimsby trait, isn't it? Like, I walk into a room, I don't care where I am. Treat people as you find them, and I've been in some rooms that whether it's in finance or celebrity or whatever, and I couldn't give a shit where you're from. It's are you as a person, you're a decent person, you treat people as you find them. So I'm be the same person as I am in the Knots as I am if I've been invited to some royal palaces. Sometimes it's like I couldn't give a shit where you are. It's like, are you a decent person? Are you interested? Are you engaged? Care about what's going on for me? So I've never been starstruck with people. I think that's a Grimsby trait, and it's like we take people as we find them. I think long may that continue.
Speak for yourself. I was completely overwhelmed by seeing Timmy Mallet.
We had Norman Lamont in the away end. I can't believe it was trumped.
He was causing trouble.
Him and Julian Clary.
We met Norman he came to the playoff final, didn't he, Norman? He turned up at the playoff final. I remember meeting him that day. We had a lovely chat, and he was completely engaged with what the club was about and stuff. So again, just they're town fans, right? It doesn't matter whether he's been chatting to the Exchequer under the Thatcher government or whether he works in Morrison's. It doesn't matter to us. Like, we're all town fans at the end of the day. But it's I tell you, Lloyd's good at dropping in some celeb names though, and he's got like a Rolodex. Is a Rolodex still a thing? Anyway, but like he knows some top tier showbiz people occasionally. So maybe a good question for Lloyd: has he ever been intimidated by any of the people he's met? But I did a thing with the Our Future thing for Grimsby a couple of weeks ago, where Thomas Turgoose, I interviewed him about his childhood. It was lovely, like just hearing someone like he's like what a humble and brilliant bloke, right? To be able to have the career having. And he goes around the world and he's he's an actor in top Hollywood films, and yet what I love about it is like on a match day you see him and he's just a normal regular guy as he should be, right? That's exactly how you should be. But I think we don't suffer people who think they're different in Grimsby. So, but my medication's wearing off. I better shut up.
I think we can all leave you to your Christmas wrapping now, and thank you for your time, because once again, wonderful. We didn't have to talk too much about Blunder Park toilets or anything as well, which was great. I think we cut those questions out, to be honest. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. If there's anything else you want to say, feel free to. But if not, we shall leave it there. Thank you all. We will be back on Sunday after we venture across across the border to Wales to see how we get on against Newport.
Alex, can I just say one more thing if I've got time?
Yeah, of course you can. Do you want me to put you solo cam as well?
No. Can I just thank all the supporters that have got in touch with me over the last couple of weeks, because I've been completely and utterly overwhelmed with the messages that I've had and the comments that I've seen. Completely and utterly overwhelmed, and I can't tell you how much it means to me. So I just wanted to say thank you.
I think thank you to everybody. It's been it's let's see where the future takes all of us. Just one thing though, Jason, it might be quite nice for Debbie's last game to get her a mascot package.
I want to be Mighty Mariner.
No, I think a mascot would be much better.
You see her walking out holding Kieran Green's
hand would you hold? Yeah, whose hand would you hold?
Jason, Andrew, you know how much I want to be Mighty Mariner. You said you would get it cleaned and ready.
Okay, we'll make that happen for you.
Yeah. Doing knee slides everywhere.
Yeah,
you got to do the press ups as well, Debbie.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 months. Don't forget, you must get ready.
I'll be ready.
You got a few weeks to get training.
I've got a couple of months yet to get mascot fit.
Exactly. You need to be able to do at least 20 press ups
yeah. Bit of a robot. I'm going to be going for it.
There we go. It's going. This is on, isn't it? It's on now. You heard it here for an exclusive to finish the pod on.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks,
and
guys.
We look forward to seeing you on the pitch soon, Debbie.
Yeah, thank you.
With your Mariners hat on.
Cheers. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Guys.